So something else that I've done is that I have this screen key set up so that whenever I'm typing, you can see what I'm typing. And so, awesome. All right, I can see if people are typing in the Discord chat, I have that on my phone right next to me. I also have my very trusty dispatch as a plushie, so I'll be using that as well for confidence during these trying times. So what is a REPL? Let's get started there. That's easy. So REPL, here's your classic REPL, right? The Julia REPL means read, evaluate, print, loop. So it's going to read whatever you type in, right? So I just typed 3 + 3, and you should be able to see me typing. Those are the keys that I typed. And I'm going to be doing a couple of key combinations and shortcuts. So I'm hoping that people can really get. So for example, there you saw that I zoomed in with Control+, right? And if I press Enter, that's the Enter key. And so Julia read this. Then I entered, then it printed that, and now it's asking me again. So it's in a loop, right? That's easy enough. Big key combo, Control+L, clears your screen. So I'm just going to be going through many of these. Please feel free to ask your questions. And so we're going to go over the very basics, right? So the basic flow is that you're going to be defining stuff here in your REPL, right? Could you move your webcam overlay? I can. Yes, I think, Peter, I believe the sound is from your end. Yes. How do I, hello? Yeah, Filipos has sound, so we should be good. I don't know how I can move this overlay. Remove from stream, not from there. Edit audio avatar, edit name, stop my cam. This might be a StreamYard thing. I'll just try not to go on the bottom right corner. How about that? There's a layout button in StreamYard. You just have to be to the left of the screen. I think it's 2 to the left of the one you have selected now. So it's 2 to the one you have selected now. So it could be that one, but I don't know that that's better, Rachel. I don't know that people new layout shift press picture in picture layout. Oops, that's not the one. Yeah, all right. How about this? We can try just doing a full-on REPL experience, and if people, I'll drop in for questions or when I really want to connect with people face to face. So yeah, this is your Julia REPL. You're going to be defining stuff here. So we're going to define functions, right? Oh no, that's not what I wanted. So we can do a square, and I'll say, oh, you defined the function square, and then you can do square is 3, and enter, and you get 9 back. Awesome. So what's really cool about this is that you are going to be able to define all sorts of functions and workflows, and then you'll be able to calculate stuff that interests you, or you'll be able to see pictures, or you'll be able to download stuff. So you don't getting into the mindset of almost everything I need to do with Julia, I can reach for with the REPL is part of the message of today's talk. And making you as comfortable and as powerful as you can be with this tool at your fingertips is the overarching theme. Like that is what we want for you to do today. So there's a couple of things that a lot of people don't know how to do or haven't seen before. So we're going to go over a lot of them. But first, we're going to talk about Julian mode. So the REPL comes with 4 modes: Julian mode, REPL mode, Julian mode, package mode, help mode, shell mode. We're going to talk right now about Julian mode, right? Julian mode is this one where you just evaluate stuff, and then you're like, all right, X was 6 or something, and I don't know, you can do base dot summary size of X, and it'll say it's 8 bytes or something. All right. Yeah, no questions. I started getting the sound visuals. When you mean, what did the first definition work, and what did it mean? the one you didn't intend. I don't remember. I typed that in a while ago. So something cool is that, so I just evaluated the size and it gave me 8. So if I ever want to calculate stuff with the latest value that I ever defined in the REPL, there's this keyword called ands. So when you're running in REPL mode, ands is bound to the last thing you ever evaluated at. So it's like persistent until you actually evaluate something else. So I could technically do something like ands to that, and then ands, 2 ands, and that should be 80. Yes, right? And now if I do ands squared, then that's going to be, I don't know, 80 squared, right? And this is very useful. This will really save your bacon if you're doing some long computations and you don't want to retry it again. And you're like, oh, right, I can just do like temp equals ands, and now I have my temp variable. So that's something useful. All right. And that's about as powerful as a REPL as you get in other languages. Like there's just isn't that much of an investment. I've tried to be scientific about them, and we'll talk about a little spreadsheet that I have for different other languages. So now we're going to be trying to work the best that we can with different sorts of functionality that Julian mode offers. And this is going to mean basic navigation, right? So this will be the equivalent of doing musical scales on a piano. So get ready. Also a reminder, GitHub will now let you just hover over this and click copied. So you can just jump onto your REPL and type in that, right? So what's cool is that you can do something that's very useful, which is you can, first of all, you can quit your REPL, right, with Control D. So whenever you're like, I abort my REPL, that's not a good thing, you can just abort with D. And then you can also do Control C when something is stuck. And you can clear your entire screen with Control L. This is probably the thing I will type in the most during any time that I'm using the REPL. It's just too useful to like go back to the top of the input for myself. Please increase the browser font size. Thank you. That was useful. I forgot about that. So let me check that nobody's. Does someone have the GitHub repo URL? I'm gonna run that again by people. Yeah, no worries. This is a banner, and we're showing that. Yes, sir. All right. So we should be good now. All right. So if you're ever evaluating a, I don't know, function, I'll show you how I did that in a second. And you ever forget that you have to type in like the last return value, it's if you just type in here end, that will evaluate the entire function. But if you do Alt Enter, then you will get a new line. So I didn't know the Alt Enter before when I started, and it was very aggravating. And so I'm letting you know so that you don't get as aggravated as I did when I started out with Julia. So there you have it. Thank you, Rachel, for posting in the Discord. So the first really powerful thing that's useful to know in the REPL is that you can just type up or down to go back and forth through your REPL history. So for example, I can go back to when I defined X, right? And then I can just do that with a bunch of up arrows, right? I did it with 11 up arrows. But something that people might not know is that when you scroll up into that history entry, you can also type in down, and that will go down from that entry itself, right? So now I can just replay my history if I keep pressing down and enter. And that's something really, really useful, right? Because if you ever try to write down a presentation, what you should do is you just have an entire script, you copy paste it into the REPL, and then you can add in a comment like start presentation right? And then you do Alt-Enter, right, to get a new line, and you're like x equals 3, and then you can just go way back up to where that start presentation line was, all right? So something that people might not also know is that your up arrows and down arrows are smart, in the sense that if I ever type in function, and then if I type in, let's say, func, and then I press the up arrow, this pulls up the latest entry in my history that matches up to func, right? So this is really cool because you can like leave like little book, like you just have to memorize little bookmarks to where you need to, like if I just do start and I type up, I'm at the beginning of that presentation. If I'm trying to remember, oh my God, what was that last time I called that really funky function in base, was called base, and then I just type up, and that will autocomplete in my REPL search, like in the history that I've input into the REPL, right? So that is extremely useful, right? If you're ever typing your very long, complicated functions, once again, you do function hamming, or you just remember there was ham or something. So you do function ham, and then bam, that's the latest that you can get. All right, I'm gonna field some questions here for a second. Comments. What's the Alt-Enter on a Mac? I just tried everything. Me neither. Does anything like Alt-Enter work for Mac? Wasn't able to figure it out. It's Alt-Shift-Enters on Windows. Yes, thank you, Seb Fitzner, because it's some of these, there's some inevitable per operating system configurations that we can't get around. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. What's the thing you're using to print out your keystrokes? That looks very useful. No, that's an entirely reasonable question, Graham. It's called screen keys. Let me post it here. I just installed it via Ubuntu. It's called screen keys. You can just do like straight up sudo apt install for screen keys. All right, so now we're going to do a little bit of exercise movements. So, oh my God, that's horrible. Horrible print. But this is supposed to be a snake. And what you can do is you can just use the arrows to move around through the snake. Oops, I screwed that up. Oh no, my snake is dead, or my snake is deformed. And then try and get to the apple, right? So you can do that with the arrow keys, but there's other ways to move around, and we're going to talk about a few of them, right? Actually, that should be with a comma. So I'm going to show off a little bit of I'm going to show off something, but I'm going to explain it later. So you can pull up a shell, enter into your editor, and then go snake, right? And then I can do like that, correct it, and then git, do that, commit, let's go with fix, right? Git push origin. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that particular workflow, but the point is, if I ever want to do a quick fix onto a typo, I can do that within, I don't know, 20 seconds with my REPL. Let's go back to the hungry snake. So what we can do is, actually, there's a couple more. This poor snake is also deformed. There we go. Snake typos, right? Git push. So we're going to talk everything about how I just did those things, right? But for now, just believe me that there's a snake. No, snake. There we go, snake. Oh, it's because I have the comment before that. And this should have, oh no, there we go. So, all right, snake is no longer dismembered. And so what we're going to do is we could use the arrow keys, but we can also learn a couple of useful key bindings, right? So if you start at where the snake is, there's the controls for moving forward, which is via Control F. And then you can also move down with Control. So think of it as Control forward. Then you can move down with Control N. And then you can move forward again. Control N would be like Control next line. Control P will move you to the previous line. And then Control forward. Oh no, that was to the end. But I can move backwards with Control B, right? So I can move around the snake, forward, 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 and then forward, and then next. All right, so there's some hijinks about like when it does or doesn't like go back a character or not. But the point is you can also move around with those keys. And so this is going to be useful when we don't want to take our hands off the home row. We're going to build up to that. But I just want to let you know there's ways that you can move the cursor around without needing to go to the arrow keys. And you can change that, and we're going to look at that in a bit. All right, question. So people should be seeing the updated snake now because I pushed that change. Yay! Awesome. So snake is no longer dismembered, and just GitHub has the worst rendering there. So one of the cool things that you can do now is without removing your hands from the keyboard, you can do function and then Control P, right? So you don't need to go down to the arrow keys. So you can just do, oh, what was the last function that I defined, right? And so you just need Control P and Control N, right? So, and you can go back and forth in your history with Control P and Control N. So I find that very useful. All right, what's next? You should have scrolled back in time. Also, if you like that trick for finding the most recent history item in your REPL, please spam me on Twitter and or the Julie chat with your favorite emoji, just so that I know how many people are actually going along with the tutorial right now, because seeing people type their favorite emojis makes me chuckle quite a bit. And it's also a great way. We're going to learn how to type emojis. This is not a proper Julie tutorial if we don't go through auto-completing emojis, right? So, all right, we saw like just moving one character at a time, but there's definitely easier ways to move more than that. And there's a couple of ways that it's delimited by backspace. So there's this key called meta, which people should also have access to. And you can do, so I'm going to do Control P, and then move backwards. But I can also do meta backwards, right? And so this one goes back through white space, right? So it's going through all the white space. So I'm going backwards or forwards through all the backspace, which I kind of think of as going through words or like terms at a time. So you can just do like, oh, yeah, right. So it's quite a bit faster than just going via just pure control forwards or control backwards. You can just do meta backwards, or you can do like, I can go all the way up here and then do meta forwards. Oh no, not that. Don't want that. Meta forward. There we go. So I can go down 4 lines and then meta backwards, right? So if you're, the point is to try and practice going around the snake with via the corners of the snake, right? So this is going to be meta forwards, go down all the way, and then meta backwards, and then go up here, and then meta forward, forward, down again, and then there we go, right? We can go around the snake in different ways. Awesome. Oh no, there you go. Questions so far? All right, good vibes. Why these hotkeys are not complying with the Vim defaults? We're going to talk about Vim defaults. I love Vim defaults. We're not getting those here right now, but they start out with Emacs defaults, and until people pull requests differently. And big shout out to John in the chat, who is posted their vimbindings.jl, and there's one by Caleb Allen too. So they're in the Discord. All right. So also very useful. If you're at the very end of your input and you want to go all the way back, you can just type home, or you can type end. So if you ever have a huge function and you don't want to type it all again, or you have a really long one-liner, you can just type home and end, right? Or you can do meta at, sorry, that was, yeah, that's supposed to be, all right. It's supposed to be control at the beginning and then control end. So that will take you to the end of the line, but if you type it at the end of the line, it will take you to the end of the input, right? Once again, if I have my cursor at the end, I can do control A to get to the very beginning. I can scroll down, control end to go to the end of the line. Control A to go to the beginning of the line. Control end, control A. And then if you type both of those really quick, then you go back to the beginning of the input, right? So control A, control E. So now it's very, we're getting comfortable with the REPL. What we can move around now with the basics. We're going to go over a bit more movement keys in a bit, but it's useful to know what are things that are already defined for you in the REPL, or stuff you've defined. So we're getting into more navigating what you've done now. And part of that is using functions like var_info, right? So var_info will include stuff you've defined, how much they weigh in memory, and the summary, right? So this says that I've defined this surprise thing, this ands, interactive utils, core, base, and main. Main and base are, whenever you start a Julia REPL session, they're going to be defined for you. Core is stuff that Julia needs for starting out, and so we're not going to worry about it. It's very internals related stuff, very finicky. Don't need to worry about that. And what is useful is, trying to figure out the difference between these two things. And so I try to do a little demo of that. Also, you can copy paste into the REPL, but you can also try that. And then if I want to pull up my base sum, and then remember, if you want to go back, just control P, and you do that to ask, and you can see the difference with var. And then instead of typing the whole thing, I do control P, because wow, why did that happen? Oh my god. So I'm going to reduce the font size, and there we go. That was weird. Oh, it's because of this weird type signature that everything got worked with the printing. Right, so A is 48 bytes, B is a lot more bytes, and it's because one of them is a step range, right? So once again, I type A, and I do control P. Oh, sorry. I find this very useful when you remember the name of a variable, but not how you define it. You just do A equals and then control P. Hello. Oh, did I skip a? All right, I think I didn't do it then. What is wrong? What? Weird. Maybe my copy got I think the copy pasting somehow borked the REPL. That was interesting. At any rate, you can do a equals and then Control P, and you'll autocomplete to how you define the variable. So I find that really useful sometimes. And then when I'm done with seeing how it was defined, I'll just do home and then comment it out, so I know that it doesn't bork the rest of my code. So I just have it accessible. Another really useful combination is that first of all, I'm not coming up with all of these combinations. They're all in the manual, and reading the manual is something that at some point everyone should do, at least the Julia REPL part. It's very friendly. What's not so friendly is that there's just this long list of, we're going to talk about package mode and shell mode and all this stuff. There's this long list of key bindings, and they're explaining the same thing I'm explaining to you, but with very few examples, if any. It's supposed to be like a reference. And so the part of this, in part, this tutorial is to try and have some useful examples that people can work themselves up to that level of proficiency, where they're just like, oh, right, yeah, that means this thing. So one of the useful key bindings that you can do when you're just starting a REPL, if you're debugging something that keeps erroring, or if something doesn't load, or you're restarting the Julia REPL a bunch, is you can just do Control. You can do sorry, that's meta, right? You can do meta and then the less than, right? So that will take you back to the first thing you defined in this Julia session. On the other hand, if you type in alt and then greater than, that will give you the last entry in this REPL session, right? So that should have worked. Oop. All right, for some reason that doesn't work for me, but you should be able to get the last thing that you entered in this Julia's REPL session. We're going to talk a little bit about how Julia REPL history works. We're going to look at it, and so you're going to see that it's not that hard to parse yourself, and we're going to see a couple packages that do that, one of mine included maybe. So small little exercise for people. If you have, that's another thing that I need to fix so that it doesn't print, because that's not useful, right? So there's a couple of mushrooms here that we should definitely delete. And so one of the keystrokes that you can do is a meta backspace. So you can do Alt Delete, and then you can do Control to hover over a word and then delete again. So that's how you can really quickly get rid of all the mushrooms, right? So let's add that. Badger. This is Control plus right, and then Control plus left. Skip over an entire word, and then that. Control plus left, silence badger. Right, git push origin main. Awesome. And then you can buffer the Control L, and that will auto delete. So if we do words, once again, that's how it ended up. And another word to do another, let's do that again, because why not? Oh no. There we go. So that's the input. And so you can just do, what I end up doing is Control Delete also works. So I'll just go back like, all right, beginning, Alt, and then Alt Delete, Control to skip over, and then Alt Delete, Control to skip over, Alt Delete. And so that will, you can quickly work your way around with just Control and the keys, and you can delete. I find that very ergonomic. So I'm going to read the chat for questions now. You can also do Control A for home. Control A gets you to the beginning of the line, home for the beginning of the entry. Is there a library for TUI? There are. We're going to talk about a few of them. When should we preference using the REPL IDE or plain script? Basically, every full-fledged IDE has REPL integration. VS Code has it too. So there's definitely going to be talks on VS Code. Go to the talks on VS Code. They're going to talk to you about what the REPL is. Alan, the REPL is what you're looking at now. It's like the Julia terminal, read, evaluate, print, loop. That's what REPL stands for. Is anyone struggling? Is anyone struggling to find some of these modifier keys on the Mac? I'm very sorry for the Mac users. REPL inside the IDE. So I'm focusing on the REPL because different IDEs have different levels of support for everything that you can do in the REPL, and some of the shortcuts can be hijacked by the editor. So, or you need to type in a combo of two. But this is the most basic Julia experience, no matter where you're using Julia. Almost, I think Pluto and Jupiter definitely have this. Emacs has a lot of this, but sometimes it struggles with clearing screen. VS Code is probably the best supported REPL at the moment. Yeah. All right. Yeah, me too. Sorry for the Mac users. All right. There's a spurious to do here, which I will try to get to. So I'll do Alt to get back, and then I can do meta word. Nope. I can do meta D. Yeah, to delete the word in front of me. So if you're used to the, oh, that's much faster than what I used to do. So, I deleted a thing here. So if I go back to the badger mushrooms, I can just do Control F and Control B to move around. I mean, Alt B and Alt F to move around, and then I can do Alt D to delete an entire word. Oh, that's neat. All right, learn something every day. And so, yeah, I don't even need to reach for the backspace key. So if you try this Alt DFB combo, you can really move around quite quickly and just delete stuff that needs to be deleted. All right. Let's try that. There's another key for deleting stuff, and that's Control W. So let's try that one. Clearly doesn't work. Home to get to the front. Control End to get back. Nope. I want back. Nope. I want at the beginning of this input. Right. And now if I do Control W, oh, sorry, this one's backwards. Right. If I go forwards with Alt, and then I do Control backwards, Control W, it will delete backwards until the first instance of white space, right? So, once again, if I'm here and I do Control W, I can delete the first thing that isn't white space. I delete up to the first thing that is white space, I'm sorry. So if I do that, and then I do it's Control A to get at the beginning of the line. I didn't want to go back that far, so I'll just go to the front of this word, and then I can do Control W. Then that will be enough, right? So Control W can help you delete backwards up until white space. You can also do Control Right and Control F for going around. Yeah, just wanted to make sure I had that written in. All right. How to send all the code of REPL session to a file. We're going to talk about a way to do that. In fact, if you use Dr. docstrings, there I made a function specifically for that to copying stuff onto your clipboard, but it's not too hard. All right, so we're gonna do something that's kind of funky, and people might have to set up some config. So just bear with me for a second. There's this macro called edit. We're going to talk about it in a second. But unfortunately, if you use it on another macro, it won't work. And you'll get this nasty stack trace. So a stack trace means that your function, so the function that you started with, right, the REPL scope, called another function, edit, which is, what this macro is wrapping, which calls a function location, which calls the which function, which calls blah, blah, blah. So the nesting of the functions goes up until you hit the error, right? Something happened here in which then threw an error. If you want to go onto line set into function 7, what you can do just after the stack trace has been thrown is you can type 7 and then Control Q. And so, oh my God, that does not exist. Control exit. Let's try a different one. We get a stack trace, we type in 2, and then Control Q. And so this will show you, this will pull up your predefined editor. Actually, this is a really good teachable moment. This will show you your predefined editor, and it will jump into the line that was involved in that stack trace. So if you've never seen this before, this is a funky editor that comes in with a bunch of Linuxes. It's called Nano, and it says error, no unique method matching for specified argument types. So this happened to me before, and I was like, that was not fun. I don't like Nano. I haven't used it in years. Let's look at what you can actually do to jump in with your editor of choice, right? So you can define this variable called env Julia editor, and as a string, add in your own path, right? Oh, right, because my REPL sometimes autocompletes the brackets. Right. So now that the Julia editor, I'm going to talk about clipboard, and you guys are all asking questions that I'm not being able to answer as quickly as I want. So now if I define that, I should be able to do edit, get that horrible stack trace, and then if I do 2, Control Q, then it's going to throw me into Vim, right? And Vim is the thing that I like for jumping in and out of files really quickly, throwing a quick edit, and then doing Control Q, right? So if you want that to be persistent, you can throw it up on your configuration file. We're going to talk about that later. But just know that there's this thing that you have to define so that it can be pulled up by the @edit macro. So now, if you ever want to use @edit and you're like, oh, what is a function? We're going to talk a lot about this function. Parse 1, 2, 3. Right? I want to see what that thing is. I want to explore all the goodness of Julia. You do enter, and then this will throw you directly into where that function is defined, right? Like this is where, this is the parse function in Julia 1.7.3 share Julia base parse. Like this is it. This is the thing I called. So don't be afraid to use @less. You can also, I think you can also configure less to use not cat. So you can do, if you don't want to jump in with your entire editor, you can do something like less, right? And that one doesn't have colored rendering. I think there's definitely a way to there's definitely a way to set up less with your predefined terminal pager. We're going to talk more about that later. All right, I'm going to field some questions now. Thanks all. Wow, this stack trace analysis is so awesome. It would have saved me so much time. I'm hoping so, Ronan. We're going to talk about some cool other stuff that you can also do. On my VS Code REPL, control underscore works, but not control /. I'm sorry for that. There's a VS Code maintainer. So I'm sure they're going to be able to give you way better tips than I just did. So what is the thing that being able to jump in and out of your editor allows you to do? This is the point. You get an error, you jump into the stack trace of your package, you edit your error, and then you rerun your code. And this is going to be exponentially more productive when we look at Revise.jl and how that works, right? We're also going to talk a little bit about where you can leave like these variables saved to your environment in your Julia code. There's a file for that. But before that, I just want to let people know that whenever you see like those nicely formatted let's say they're not stack traces per se, but you see these numbered entries, you can jump into these too. So for example, I can type in this is to parse IPv4 sockets, right? So if I type in 9 Control Q, hello? Oh no. Is it on Julia 1.8? Maybe it's 3. There we go. So for some reason it wasn't working with the other one, but ideally you should be able to wait, is this JK? No unique method match for the unspecified argument types. Okay, this is weird, because I should be able to do methods and then jump on the third one, right? This one is for abstract string. Control Q. And it's saying it's not finding that. All right, unfortunate. The point is, whenever you see nicely formatted methods like this, you should be able to jump into that stack trace. Again, with the same keyboard shortcut. So 1, Control Q. Yeah, that's the one, right? Okay, it's still pulling up the latest stack trace. So maybe I just found a bug, and I need to, yeah, I think I just found a bug. Interesting. All right. All right. I think that's a bug. When starting with Julia, it can feel very big. So we've seen that you can go into definitions that you've defined. You can, if you know a function, then you can look it up. But there's still a lot of stuff. There's a lot of functions inside of Julia and inside of the packages that you import. So it feels like a lot. There's, I don't know, like a gajillion functions that are defined, and there's a lot of funky stuff like parsing or bootstrapping and compiler stuff. You're not going to learn everything overnight. But you know what's really useful? It's really useful if you could at least know the stuff that is offered to you, or what is likely. So there's this thing called autocompletion with tab, right? And autocompletes are amazing, and there's many different kinds of autocompletes, and people don't know the extent of things that can get autocompleted, and I think it's just the coolest, right? So you can complete packages that you have defined. So if I do using lin tab, it will now import linear algebra. But if I do using p and then I do tab, it will autocomplete for all of the packages that I have in my environment, right? So I'm like, oh, right, yeah, I'm sure I wanted package, right? So completing packages, that works from within Julian mode. If you don't remember the name of a function, you can type in tab, right? And then I was like, oh, right, that was tab. And then if I don't even remember the arguments of a function, I can open the parentheses, type in tab, and then I will have the methods that are appropriate also auto-completed. And those auto-completions should narrow down as you fill in more types. So this should be more precise, right, than this. Let's try that again. I do parse int space, or parse int. I only get 3 auto-completions. But if I don't have any type signatures and I type in tab, I get all the possible auto-completions, right? So people should now be losing it in the chat I'm certain the people should be like, oh my God, how is this possible? This is amazing. This is just the best thing since sliced bread and toast. All right. So we should I should also talk about bar tab. There we go. So parse tab shows all methods. Yeah, narrows to all methods there we go. We're gonna include that in a bit. Yeah, so that's the thing where I'm seeing the head blown emoji, like mind exploding emojis now. This is exactly what I wanted. You can also autocomplete for fields. Yeah, so if you don't know what a string is, you can type in the dot and then you can type in tab and it will expand to all of the fields that are defined in string, right? So I don't know, what is a hash? And I'll be like, oh, that's hash for whatever like whatever that means. And so you can just, when I don't know stuff in a repo, I'll just look at the big structures that are exported and I'll just autocomplete on them. And I'm like, oh, right, flags. The string has flags, a hash, an instant, a layout, a name, parameters. All right, I get that. So I've defined X. What fields does X have? None of them. It's just a number. But if I have the X be an array of 1, oh my God, I hate this. We're going to talk about how to get rid of that. I can just do X tab. No. Body. No. Oh my God. So array X equals array of 1, 2, 3. What? All right, so it's not letting me access the fields here. But the point is you can just access, oh, let's say IO equals IO buffer, right? I created an IO buffer and I don't know what's in it, so I'm just gonna tab autocomplete to be like, all right, there's an append, there's a data, there's a mark, max size, pointer, readable. That's the kind of thing you'd want to know if you're using a buffer, right? But if you've never used it before, you're like, oh, those are the things that will let you know what this buffer thing is, right? There'll be a couple of Boolean flags set. What's this mark? It says -1. That must be important. And now data. All right, it's empty, right? Maybe it's some defaults. Another thing that people don't know, there's this function. So there's this function called readlines, which will let you project. Let's do the license, right? So it will spit out the entirety of the file as a vector of strings. But what if you don't remember the name of the file? You can do lie and then tab to autocomplete. So you can get string autocompletion on paths per se when you're operating with strings, and that's just so nice because you can also do source tab, and then it will keep autocompleting as you go down the folder structure, right? Ta-da! So I don't know. There's not that much there, but the point is that is feasible. Oh my God, I already wrote this. All right. Every Julia self-respecting tutorial needs to at some point talk about the fact that we have a bunch of Unicode support. So if you type in A alpha and then tab, it will autocomplete. If you type in beta, it'll autocomplete. It's not defined, but we can define it. You can also subscript. So if you do / equals 4, you can now do I forgot my syntax there. 3, and that's 12. Awesome. And so you can also keep completing for, what was that thing that was called like par? You can just do, right, that was partial. Yeah, partial, right? So you can keep auto-completing even if you don't have the entirety of your Unicode symbol memorized, right? So that's another really easy way. But we also have emojis. So you can, if you don't remember what the boat emoji was called, you can do bow, B-O-A. Oh, there's a boar? There's a boar? Oh my God, there's a boar. Awesome. So, yeah, arithmetic on emojis. Works amazing. I'm gonna look at some questions now and take a strategic sip of water. Typo, narrows instead of narrow. Again, gracias, Marco Antonio. There's a lot. Control Q is awesome. Stractrix analysis works for me. Mind blown. Oh my God, amazing. I kind of wish we could temporarily remove the source of the method. It's a lot of visual noise. Yes, method display. There's a lot of bike shit going for back and forth with that. It's not easy to come up with sensible defaults for that everyone will like. It's second nature to tab everything everywhere. You stumble upon them once you get like the hang of it, but just keep randomly trying to autocomplete stuff. I also wish more REPLs implemented ants. Yes. You can use methods with. Yes. All the time that was wasted. Oh, Node and Python have underscore the same as ants. Interesting. I did not know that. Can you subscript anything like in LaTeX, or does it have to be a Unicode character representing it in subscript form? It has to be a Unicode character. And in fact, there's a Unicode proposal about including all the freaking superscripts and subscripts because for some reason they don't like them. Elias, welcome. Thanks for coming on. We're going to talk about one of your packages, I think. I'm going to try and show it off. All right. I think arrays don't have fields. Yeah, thanks, Peter. No. All right. Another super useful function, if you're auto-completing emojis, is let's say that you really want your boar emoji. You can always pipe that into the clipboard function. And now you can just paste all the boards you've ever wanted. So there you go. The clipboard function, very useful. Clipboard, we're going to talk about a little bit about how I just did that. Last thing that I want to show people, you can do, we're going to talk about the shell REPL, shell mode in a bit, but if you do shell ls and then your home directory, let's say Julia, right? And then tab, you can keep auto-completing in the shell mode. And this is amazing, right? So you're like, config, startup. Oh, what's that? And we're going to talk about that. Ta-da! Also note that what I just did there. So if I'm in the Julian mode, but the last command that I put in was in the shell mode, and I press up, it will still go back into shell mode. Like it doesn't think that, I'll go back to your last Julian mode command. It goes straight into the shell mode. So we're going to talk a little bit about what all that means. Just be aware that you can jump around directories really quickly because you don't miss out on the auto-completion that you normally have in the shell. Also, Keno shared this on Twitter, and you can set up your own REPL completions. So you can type in, instead of, so Keno was doing some gnarly category theory stuff, and he really needed some specialized mathematical notation. So instead of doing partial, over left, over left arrow, yeah, tab, there we go. So instead of completing all of those things, I don't know, 3, he just said, what if I write poll, and then that's it. Oh yeah, because I missed a character, right? Because he needed a. At any rate, so you can set up your own REPL auto-completions. If you were writing some specifically mathematical heavy code, you might as well just use that for the internals, and yeah, be a very happy camper. There's a lot more REPL completions that I've shown here. They're not all of them, but they're also, I found them to be particularly useful when I was like trying to figure out what all the macros in base that were defined as. And I was like, at some point, I was like, oh, I really want to learn Julia. I want to impress like my David Sanders, my high school, my grad professor, my course professor. And I was like, I'm going to learn all the Julia macros. And I was like, oh, how do I do it? How do I do it? And then I stumbled onto auto-completion, and I was like, oh, they're all defined in different places, but they all start with the @ sign. So I just have to start with base.at and then type tab, and then those are all the macros defined in base, right? That's it. Well, all the ones that are, yeah, I think counts all the exported ones. So I could be like, what is pure, right? And pure, the doc string is wrong. It should say, don't use pure. You are not James and Nash. But yeah, it just doesn't work as what people from functional languages think it works in Julia. So yeah. All right, let's keep going. This is the worst possible Julia code ever. Break or continue. Oh, I need to fix that. Return 0. Yeah, return -1. Let's do that. So this is the worst possible Julia code you could write to calculate this. And so we're going to go through some editing dojos to try and figure out effective editing techniques. So let's say that I'm at the beginning of this function. If I now type in control space, and I'm at the end of this function and I type in control space, instead of having to go all the way back up, there's this shortcut called control X. So you jump in between different parts of the function with control X. So this isn't normally useful for me because I don't write like 150 line REPL functions usually. Like they don't span multiple screens. But if they did, jumping around with this, it's called setting a mark. So you set a mark and then you are able to, oh my God, you're able to jump between them. I just realized another typo there. Read me. Counter. All right. We'll get that when we're done. All right. So next drill. I think this is probably the most informative exercise you could do if you really want to practice a lot of these key combinations. So this is the most horrible, unformatted Julia code you could ever write. And I try to write a couple of comments that could help you in clearing up a lot of the stuff that was wrong with this function. Before I get into that, I'm going to look at questions from the chat. Yes, Elias spotted that. I knew that about Python. Real funny is the clipboard thing smart in Linux. Different Ds implement different clipboards. I don't know if it's smart but it works with at least the last thing. My REPL doesn't show emojis. Oof, you might be on Windows and you might need other fonts. Show mode is hideous in Windows. Is there a way to make it useful? I don't know offhand. What I do is turn into a git bash, but that doesn't work. If I turn into help for search in docs for the word, counter goes for, yeah, Elias noticed something horrible by my code. I use WSL2. No possible it works. Not possible. Otherwise, I will use it. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Can't fix your work environment for now. But if you're at home and you have the spare time to try and get a bit more fluent with a bit of these commands, we're going to do the following exercise all together. So we're going to go to the beginning, right? Then we're going to go to the next line. Then control delete. All right. So now we're going to go to the oops line. And if we press Control K, we're going to kill the rest of the line. We're going to go here. We're going to go Control Word to scroll back. Here, Alt F to go forward. Control W to go backwards again. Control W to delete backwards again. We're going to get this. Control N to go to the beginning, next line. Then Control A to go to the beginning of this line. Then Control K to kill it. Control K. Go backwards. Kill that with Control W. Control N. And forward. Control W. Oh, sorry, that wasn't supposed to be that one. So this one, there's this other thing that's meta L. Oh no. So if you're if you want to change the from uppercase to lowercase, you can just type in meta L, and so that will lowercase the entire word if you're at the beginning of it. You'll notice that there's some weird thing with how the REPL keeps displaying colors. I don't know why that happens, but it is known. I've known that happens for a while. So instead of break, this has to be return -1. And now another really interesting one is that you can do meta up, because this line should be at the beginning, so you can do Alt up to scroll it back up to the top, and then you can do forward, Control W, Control W, nope, Alt W, and so if this is wrongly indented, instead of you can do Alt left. Ta-da! So that is still wrong. Oh right, because I did that. There we go. So this is how it ends up. This is what it looked like. And yeah, just 2 little playing grounds so people can see a few examples and get a bit more comfortable with that. I'm gonna look at what people are saying now. Nothing there. Oh, I think my banner is done. Oh no, I'm just gonna leave it there. Why not? Yeah, so the prompt for that is that a very dedicated cat ran across the keyboard, maliciously writing oops all over the place. And that should be called then readme the cat. Oh, I forgot to return -1. So I could do N-R-U-T-E-R. Yeah, and that's the last thing that I want to show people. There's this cool, if you want to switch the two, break up. Yeah, if you want to change these two characters about the cursor, you can type in Control K, and so that will flip them with Control T for transpose, right? Awesome. What else is new? There's a Control Undo for the previous action. Control K will kill to the end of the line, and they'll add it to your kill ring. We'll talk about that later. Control D will delete one character and advance the word. Control W will go backwards and delete the word. You can lowercase an entire word. You can also uppercase a word. It's in the manual. Meta up I found really useful to float. Meta left to reindent. All right. So all of this talk about bindings means that you can also define your own bindings. And so this means that looking at a little bit too much internals for my liking for this workshop, but regardless, you can still do that, right? You need to do it via the line edit API. So you're going to do line edit mode, history previous, or edit move up. So this is now Vim keys with Control K and Control J instead of Control N and Control P. And so you set up the REPL interface there. If you're really interested, you can go and read the source code. It's not the most friendly Julia code, and this is known. It's one of the parts of Julia that has been quite untouched and a little bit unmaintained for the better part of Julia's existence. If you ask Stefan Karpinski about it, he'll be like, "Yep, we would do things differently now, but it's what we have." I won't be talking about deep Julia internals, Julia REPL internals, because that would be just not as practical for many people. All right, I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break after I answer some questions. Does anyone know how to remove the tab change focus feature in VS Code or tried various REPL commands? I thought we can make adjustments in the code in REPL. I just wanted that the devs went with a Vim approach. The section has already started giving me RSI. Yes, and that's why I don't use the Emacs bindings. And so part of this presentation has been about inviting everyone into, I want Vim key bindings. Can someone please be nerd sniped into contributing that into Julia, or at least having a decent package? I think Arbit random user has suggested a bit, has already posted 2 different repos about people who started that, but it definitely needs a lot more support. All right, I'm going to have a little bit of a break. See y'all in like 3 minutes. We're back, peeps. I didn't find screen keys for Mac, so it possibly doesn't exist. It might not. There's probably an equivalent program for showing. There's definitely an accessibility feature in Mac for showing that. All right. So we're done with Julian mode for now. We're gonna go through a. Wait, did I show reverse? Oh, I didn't show this. That's my bad. Last thing before we move out from Julian mode, if you're using REPL, it's going to be a bit different. But if you do this Control R, you're going to start doing fuzzy search over your inputs, right? So if I type in horrible, it will start auto-completing with a fuzzy search, which is like a more approximate search, like closer to like a search engine, I think, about the previous inputs that you've sent to the REPL. And so you can do stuff like, so remember, Control R to search in reverse, and you can type in X, and so it will show me all the things that started with X, and then all things that then contained X. So you can do that quite. This can be quite effective for searching for stuff. So I can do function ham g, right, and then it pulls that up. So you can see, you can have a little bit more of an interactive search. And what's really cool is that you can do, let's say, using, and then like that. That's the last one that I recall typing in. And then you can do Control F. Wait, that didn't work. You can do Control F, Control F, X, Control F. All right, so there's a way that you can go with like backwards fuzzy search and forwards fuzzy search with Control F, I think. But reverse mode is what I use 99% of the time. All right, so that's it for the Julian mode. We're going to talk now about other REPL modes. So we're going to go and talk about the help mode. I've used it a little bit, but to get into the help mode, you type in the question mark. And then, by the way, you also get autocomplete here, right? So if you don't remember what the parse function did, then you can, or what the parse function was called, it will autocomplete. So this will throw a bunch of doc strings, right? Wow. But if you type in something that's a little bit more, there we go, terse, then we can get the clipboard function to hopefully show us a few examples about what it does, what types it expects, and a few examples, right? So for example, I'm saying a lot of examples. What's another function that I really like? Find first is a function that not a lot of people know. And so I will type that in, and then I can, oh no, I've been, I think I need to do something like set scroll on. Oh, all right. So this is something with my freaking tmux config. This is a new config that I screwed up. But the point is, if you type in, let's say, let's try the any function. Oh no, that was a lot. You get a lot of different. Let's try any or. Yeah, let's try that. You can get the title. Like this is a little bit more formatted than this text. You can get special characters like represented by the REPL. Like these are blue, right? When it's code. You can also have note warnings for the different Julia versions. So what I recommend that people try out to actually get hang of everything that's being displayed is a rendered markdown docstring, right? So you can write this in markdown, and how you write it is you just include a string just above your function. That's one way to do it. So now if I ever ask Julia, hey, what's hamming? I'll say, oh, super helpful string comment. And I'm like, that wasn't very useful. You can also add docstrings this way, and you can go like way more useful, way more pretty. Let's do dancer. Yeah, way more pretty. And then hamming, right? So if I ever now ask hamming, I have one entry that was the original docstring. Final, let's say final doc, right? And so you can keep adding docstrings. No, it's tada. There we go. So I can ask, hey, what's this hamming thing? And there was the one that I included like in the function definition, and then this one will overtake that. What's interesting is that so hamming methods, you can ask for the methods that the hamming function defined, right? And so you're like, all right, I can ask about that. But if you ever do something like, hey, hamming is just defined for x int, and let's say that this squares the input, and then you want to add in a docstring for square, right? Square block. I don't remember. Square cross. All right, let's leave it at that. Oh, my bad. Hamming, and then 3. Right. This will include. So this is a very Julian version of docstrings, because as you add more dispatches to a method call, you'll get different. You'll get more docstrings, right? So let's say that I'm looking at the docstrings for this, right? For the squaring number, or which one do I have? Yeah, which one do I want? Yeah, that one. If I ever do using sparse arrays, and sparse arrays happens to define stuff on that. Okay, no, sparse arrays is a really bad example for that. But if you bring in new modules or namespaces, and they have additional docstrings on top of the methods, those will get added afterwards. So that's something really cool. Oh, what are we gonna find here? Elbow cough. All right. Should be Control S for forward search. Oh, thanks, Peter. So what I really recommend is that people try adding, because it's Markdown, there's a couple of different Hamingo. Oh my god. Not the Hamingo. Hamingo. Right. Because it's Markdown, I definitely recommend that people check out what is possible in the parse docs. And you can do that with the edit parse int 123. And so if you scroll up to almost the beginning of the file, you can see that there's a lot of different stuff that you can write. So there's this compat thing, there's examples, you can include a region of doc tests. These get run when you're using Documenter. So there's quite a few. You can also add. Let me show people. Oh, I'm there. I was doing the hamming, right? So let's go to super super, whoop. So I'm going to try the reverse search. So that's super useful. There we go. Control A to go to the beginning. Alt F, Alt backwards. Super useful string comment. And then, yeah, I think I want the triple quotes. You don't need triple quotes, but I just find them helpful. So let's do a few of these right now. Examples, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then what was that thing? Jail, doc test. And so you do Julia, Hemming, AB, AC, and so that should be, oh no, 1, right? So if I ever ask Julia, what is the Hemming docstring? Right. Oh, the examples already has a banner for it. Right. I don't need the additional jail Hemming. So you can get really pretty printing. You can get tons of pretty printing here with the Julia code formatting that you're already seeing in the REPL. So that's very nice. Just one last thing that I want to show you. Super helpful comment. And then, so you can do, this is, you can do a string, and then a string, and then this will be an int. Right. So if I do that, this gets nicely formatted. I can show some examples, all the good stuff. All right. So yeah, don't be afraid to look at cool stuff you can do. Ooh, final thing that not a lot of people know. You can do this, extended help. And you can type in super secret, super verbose explanation of the Hamming distance. Useful for genomics. Counts how many base pairs differ, right? And so what's really cool is that if you just do, if you just get the docstring for parse, it doesn't show up. But there's this nice command that says, oh, there's extended help available. So if you type in double question mark and then you do Hamming, then it comes out. Counts, right? Super verbose, useful for genomics, right? So you can have people opt in to documentation by adding in way more stuff and putting it under the extended help. Also, Leaner, let's see. If you just type in the name of a module and they don't have an associated docstring, I think this is the case for data frames. I think I remember data frames using this. I think it's from Julia 1.8 on, might be. If you don't have a docstring for your main module, it will just pull in the README. So data frames, yeah, it'll just pull in the entire README. Oh no. So I can't scroll up right now, but you get the point. Like this is all the README, and this will just generate default documentation for your main module, which is pretty cool. I should add that. Vim README extended. If you don't have a docstring, your main module, for your main module, just display your repos README. Cool stuff. All right. Things that people didn't know about their Julia REPL help mode. Extend help. Oh, right, the apropos. There's this function I didn't find too useful at the beginning. It's called apropos. I think it comes from like Linux times. So you can ask like, hey, what are all the Julia functions that contain the args keyword, like any mention of args within their doc strings. And so this will say, oh, yeah, all of these contain it. I think it's, yeah, so it also exists in Unix. This tilde utility is amazing. Search for a keyword using a regular expression. Search without restricting the output to a terminal keyword, right? Search the manual pages for names and descriptions. Yeah, so this just searches all the Unix man pages for whatever regular expression you passed in. And you don't even need to type in the function name, because you can just type in, like, let's say args, and that will give you the same information. So I could just be like, hey, what was that dancer thing? Sorry, that was dancer in the help strings. And okay, I didn't have dancer. But if I have, what was the example I tried? Yeah, let's try Unicode. Unicode. Then all of these functions have something that says Unicode within their doc strings, right? Furthermore, if you happen to know regular expressions, you can use those in your. So a regular expression in Julia is defined like this, right? That's, you can ask, hey, what's that thing? And it'll say, oh, actually, R equals that. And then you're like, what's this R thing? And there's like, oh, that's a regex, whatever it's called. But you can do stuff like, oh, these are all the things that contain that. Or you can do arg. I want to know all the things that define some numbered argumentation. All right, yeah, argtools does that, and for some reason invoke and atomic. Funny that. So if you ever need regular expressions for searching to all your doc strings, they're there. Things that people don't maybe know sometimes is that you can also just type in a character. Oh, okay, I missed that. You can just type it in. I would count this as sort of a REPL mode help. We'll see why in a second. And so you get like the entire Unicode representation. It says the category it's in, it's a letter, it's lowercase, blah blah blah. That's wrong. Vim README. So right, cool. What is cool is that you can just type in characters. Wait, was that what I wanted to write? No. But I definitely can. Oh my god. If you just type in like the partials Unicode function, Unicode character, Julia will very helpfully let you know how you can write that with like auto completion thingy from within Julia, right? So if I don't know how to type in dancer, like this emoji, it'll say, hey, you can type dancer by dancer and then tabbing. So yeah, that's useful, I think. I like this shell mode hack. Someone has a shell mode hack. Yeah, tilde is amazing. Extended help, right? We're almost done with help mode. So yeah, that was reverse latex / emoji lookup. That was very useful. And shell mode is the last remaining canonical Julia mode. So if you type in semicolon, no, yeah, semicolon, you run into this thing called shell mode. So shell mode is an emulation, not emulation, but like it's a fake shell in the sense that it's just Julia code parsing what you want to do and then letting you try and do it. So I can do ls. So if you're in Unix, ls will show you it will list your directory. I can do bat, which is a nice pager for the, let's say, the license, right? So it will pretty print that. This shell mode doesn't let you do stuff like, oh, by the way, normally you can do like word count on the license file. All right, Control C to get rid of that. So you could do word count on license. Remember, I can tab complete. So I just did word count lie and then autocomplete. But you can't run that on, like you can't do ls and pipe that into word count, right? I think this is supposed to be xargs. It doesn't matter. It's because you don't get access to piping in this shell mode. You do, however, get access to Julia. So you could do readdir, call that. So, and then this will execute. Hello? I'm sorry. So you could do stuff like readdir. There you go. So you can do simple shell scripting from within your shell and interpolate that. So I think, oh no, okay, that's not. So X is not bound in my normal shell, and it tried to look for that, or it tried to do something with the Rust stuff that's installed. But if I do X, like echo X, that's because X here is defined there, right? So you can do all of a bunch of Julia code, right? Funky Julia code, and then get back, files equals please no dot text, and then you can do, all right, yeah, touch, and then files, and then that works, right? So that can also work. Yeah. Yeah, that's the gem shown here. So what I find most useful about the Julia REPL shell mode is being able to have like a very fast text editor that I can open up, make a quick file change, and then jump back into the REPL. So it's not uncommon. So I've done it a few times during this video, but I'm going to talk you through it now. So let's find the typo that I've made here. This extended help can now be deleted. So what I do is I just type semicolon, vim readme, get the autocomplete, right? And then I do slash to search, extended. I type in n to go to the next one, and I just do .cc, that deletes it. And then I save and quit. And now I can get add it all, git commit am, and then fix more typos, right? Git push origin name. And then I do Control L and it buffers that. So all in all, it's like once you get into the habit of doing that, and now I deleted it. Yeah. Excellent. think I'm going to take a few questions and a strategic sip of water before I go into the package mode. All right. What are we going to find? What OS is Miguel using? Grant, I'm using Pop OS. It just seemed like the easiest way to get set up with Debian, but it's basically Ubuntu with like more productivity defaults. Yeah, Pop OS, but it's basically an Ubuntu. All right. Any questions before we move on to package mode? Now, this is probably the I don't know if it's the biggest productivity boost you can get with Julia. It's probably this and Revise. So, any questions before I move on to the package mode? Questions. Grant says, thank you. I don't see anything in the Discord. Awesome. All right. This is the real productivity booster. If there's one thing you take away from today, or if you want to just get people hyped on the REPL, make it the knowing how to manage stuff from the package mode REPL. So this is what we're going to do. Other languages have ways that you can install packages into the language. Sometimes they just leave it up to you, like C++. Like there's some package managers, but they're not bolted into the language, like Julia and Rust's is. And so what's really cool about Julia is you don't need to leave your coding environment for their code to be installed, have it reloaded, and try and rerun the code. You can just do that dynamically. So now in the newest Julia, you can do using, let's say, what's a package that I haven't used in a while? Unicode plots, maybe. I don't know if I have it on this machine. But the point is, if you don't have it, Julia will now will prompt you, hey, so for example, I'm going to remove Unicode plots, right? And so that's something that you can do. So first of all, you enter the package mode REPL with square bracket. Let's wait for there we go. Let's wait a bit, 4 seconds. And so if I'm just in normal Julia mode, I type in right square bracket, and that will instantly put me into the package mode REPL. And so I can now do add Unicode plots, right? I don't want to do that right now because I want to show off that it's equivalent to doing this, right? And I'll say, oh, it wasn't found, but there's a package that matches that. So you can just type in yes, enter, or Y, enter, and it'll go and do that. And so now I can just do scatter plot. And ta-da! I have plots in my terminal, right? Something that, so once again, you just keep trying to autocomplete everywhere. If I just type in add diff and then tab, it will show me everything in the Recalcus verse, right? Like diffq tutorials, uncertainty, differentiable backward, differentiable metabolism, diffq flux, diffq GPU, diffq baseband, all the registered diffq stuff is available for auto completion. Likewise, you could do intern interactive, intern strings, interpolation, I don't know, poly, everything, it's there. It has to be a registered Julia package. Other things that people might not know. When you're developing a Julia package, so for example, I don't have any tests here. So I'm going to write tests, and it's going to dump all of the things that I have. And so this is a chart of like, hey, you have this installed at this version. You have this is the git commit to get that, all that stuff. I don't have anything there. Let's put a few tests. So vim tests, run tests. And so I'll do, hey, test2 equals 2. Awesome, right? So now I can just type in test, and it will very nicely say, oh, you just did a pass total. Here's a really cool thing that you were probably not expecting. It might be a little bit of a context switch, but this will be shown during the conference, but I want to cover it right now. There's an amazing tool. We're going to exit Julia. There's an amazing tool called Julia Up, right? And it lets you do all of these different things. So with Julia Up, what you can do is manage all of your different Julia installed versions. So I can do Julia Up list. Oh, sorry. Julia Up list. Oh, no. Julia Up help. Julia Up. Status. Right. That's the one. By the way, if you ever want your most recently typed in shell command, oh no, doesn't work in Fish. So with Julia Up, I have installed Julia 1.7, Julia 1.8, release, and source, right? I don't know why I have 1.7.3 and release as well, but all right, that's not the point. The point is that I can do Julia Up default 1.0 and then go change to that Julia version and then start Julia with that new version. And so this all happens automatically in the background. And so in the newest Julia version, this is what I wanted to show. If I run test, I think it's due to a PR by Ian Weaver, you will now get the time that your tests take. So this is a very useful way to check out like really quick fixes or like incompatibilities between your Julia versions. You just need to, exit the Julia version and then Julia Up default and then 1.7.3 and then Julia minus project, and then I'm there. We're going to talk a little bit more about flags in a bit, but yeah. So if I type in test now, you can see that I'm in Julia 1.7.3 and it's going to run very quickly and there's no timing anymore. So this is the way that if you're trying to upgrade your packages or you're trying to maintain different a package for different Julia versions, this is the blessed sanctioned way that you should definitely manage your Julia installations themselves. Managing your Julia packages and your Julia code, do that through the package manager. Julia versions themselves, do it through Julia Up. David Anhoff is going to cover it. It's an amazing tool. I really appreciate it. It's built in Rust. All the power to them. But the point is, that's how you use test. And if you didn't know, you can also test for different packages. So let's see. Let's test progress meter or Letexify. Letexify. Let's try testing Letexify. So you can run the test for a particular package. It doesn't only have to be the one the one that you've activated the environment on. So it's, I don't know, running macro tests or something. I don't really care. But the point is it can be done. All right. So you can ask for status to get a dump of everything that's installed, but you can also do ST. There's a couple of shortcuts in the package REPL. So just ST stands for status. Also, if you're ever trying to make a small sandbox of an environment, you can do this activate --temp. And so that will be a throwaway environment. And if you try to do all of your installations there, then it won't affect any other environments. And when you're done with it, it'll just be deleted. That's really useful when you're just trying to work you're making a minimum working example. I recently found this very useful when I was trying to find a bug that affects my computer because of some Mackie installation stuff, not linking the proper Clang library or symbols defined somewhere. So the easiest way to know that I wasn't working my setup was to just say, what is a clean environment that I can just jump into right now? And you can do that with activate --temp. So activate, what it does is you can tell it to have, right, to be in a certain environment, or wait, activate. There we go. Right. So I'm here, and now all of the installations that I do happen in this environment. But if I ever leave the environment, which is a normal activate, and I ask, hey, what are the things that are installed? You can see that abstract trees is installed for the REPL Mastery Workshop thing, but it isn't installed for my global workshop or for my global environment. My global environment only has like, these are the things, but the REPL Mastery doesn't have that. Actually, I should remove a few of those, but that's not the point. So you're missing one key part of the puzzle to be extremely productive in Julia, and that is instantiate. So instantiate will eagerly download all the dependencies of an environment. So if you ever want to know if your coworker's code really works on your computer, you can just use their package. You go into the directory, right? Let's say that you're here. You go home, right? And then you're like, all right, let's do this Julia dev thing. And then you go into the REPL Mastery Workshop, and you're like, oh, what is this thing? And then you can just type in instantiate. And so that instantiate, what will it do is it will download all the code that is defined in the environment, and so you'll know if you can install all of those things. So instantly you can know that you can pull in all the dependencies that your collaborators defined in their project. So they have to be like conscious that they're adding things to the environment and work in this certain way. But once you do that, once you get into the habit of always activating an environment, it's so much easier. As a really quick tip for making that easier, you might have noticed that I did this, but if you do Julia -- project, it will automatically start Julia with the appropriate environment, right? So that's something very useful. In fact, I almost always alias JP as Julia project. So I'll just jump into a repo, I'll just jump into a folder, and then JP, and then I already have the environment set up. It's probably better to set it up that way if you're once you get the mental model, and or at least having a shortcut for it. All right, questions. Rainer is trying to find out how to do multiple letter subscripts. That together with Unicode plots is a big show off. We're gonna do a lot more in the last hour. Just you wait. People are helping you with REPL completions. Yeah, Unicode doesn't allow you to subscript all the letters. It's enraging. We've tried screaming at them. It hasn't helped. Lastly, if you've been using Julia for a while, for across different versions, so like since 1.0 or before that, and you've never run GC, try that. It might free up a few gigabytes. It means garbage collect the packages that Julian knows you won't be using ever. Yeah. So, hello. All right. There's Revise, and that's the big thing that I want to talk about. Because there's definitely a before and after once you get to using Revise, and we're going to show off how to specifically do it. Installation. Right. So first of all, you add Revise. Activate. So this will add Revise. Other key features of Revise. Hello. Configuration. There we go. So you put in this little script from the revised documentation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this file. If you don't have this file, you can just build it. So it's Julia config startup, and then this is the proper way to set it up. Once you have that, what you're supposed to do is the following. Let's say that we have a file called revise me, right? So this function will say hello, and then it says JuliaCon 2022 says hi to that person, right? And also, what do I want? I want temp equals 999. So once you're using revise, then you can do include T. Notice the T. You can do revise me. And so this basically sets up like a watching system where it keeps you updated on any changes that happen to the file. So what you can do is, I was like, oh, what was that hello function? I think that was hello Elias, who's in the chat. And so JuliaCon 2022 says hi to Elias. And so I say, all right, I want to go back and edit that. So I do that. Oh my God, it's still set up to that thing. It's still set up to nano. And I was like, no, maybe it's not JuliaCon that, but it's maybe it's just chat. Write out. Nope. It's write out and enter and then exit. Whew. All right. Env editor enter. Yeah, let's never do that again. And so if I run hello Elias again, now that function is redefined in my REPL environment, right? So let's demo that again. Edit hello. Edit, Control P to go back, Control P to go back up again. And so I'll be like, oh, chat says that. And I'm like, what's up? I'll just control, I save and quit. And then I do hello, Elias. And it's what's up, Elias, right? So I only have to worry about like trying to run my code. And so you can have this tracing through your packages, right? And just be editing a file at a time. You can just be playing around in the REPL, and when you figure out what's working, you can just do add edit, jump straight into the function, change what needs to be changed, and then activate. Like let's say that this is a good demo to Vim source and then Julia autocomplete that, and I'll be like, all right, export. So hello is X, and it should be equal to that. Export the hello. And I'll be like, all right, using REPL mastery, right? It's pre-compiling. It did some really fast pre-compilation. So I'm like, all right, so I can do hello with, let's say hi to Grant, who's also in chat. What's up, Grant? So then I realized that I'm like, all right, I want to run all these tests, and my test passed, but I'm like, oof, I didn't have any tests that really checked that I was definitely saying hi to Grant. So if I say hello to Grant, this should definitely be equal to what's up, Grant. I'll exit that, and so I'll be like, all right, test that. Oh, it didn't work because it outputs Grant, right? And so I can be like, okay, that's wrong. Let's edit that. And it should be, wait, shouldn't it? Hello, Grant. What's up, Grant? Yeah. Maybe it's because it's saying Grant. It's under the last one. All right. Somebody's gonna correct me in like a few seconds, telling me I'm doing something really dumb, and I'm gonna give myself, yep, that's the thing. So this is why I want to. This is what I wanted to check with the. What's up, Grant? What's up? Right. This is what I wanted to check, that I'm. So now, before I run the test, I could be like, wait, does it even work? And so I could be like, hello, Grant. And I see that it works. And I'm like, all right, let me just run the tests. So I ran a mini example, and then I can go back to running the tests, right? So that's the sort of workflow that Revise enables you to have, is that you can just jump in and out of functions, run something really quick in the REPL, and then go back to running your tests so that you know that things are happening appropriately. You can also have like a split view of this, but that's like the big productivity booster that Revise has. What is all this? There we go. Can you improve REPL perf by lowering compiler optimization levels, say from 03 to 01? Yes, you can, Gert. You can start Julia with optimize, like minus optimize equals 01 if you want. Grant says, what's up, back? Awesome. Yeah, so someone's saying that there's a couple flags. So if you ever want to know, you can start Julia with, you can just feed Julia minus help, and there's all of these different flags for stuff that you can do with Julia. And specifically, there's the min up level, 0, 1, 2, 3, set a lower bound on optimization level, or minus optimize. That's the one that I said, right? You can also change the threads, the thread count, if there's a banner, history, all that stuff. So yeah, that can be done. All right, I've demoed a bit of Revise. I just want to give a shout out to this REPL Maker package by Mason Protter. And so you can very quickly make different REPL modes. So we've seen 4, right? You can make your own. You can make an expression mode where you can just be shown the coded version of your code. You can interpolate. You can make Lisp mode, right? By just feeding the macro straight from your REPL mode into the Lisp, into your Lispy interpreter. So you can have Lisp within Julia, right? And so this package is amazing, and you should definitely check it out. There's definitely a lot of things that can be facilitated with this package. Creating a REPL mode at startup time, right? There we go. Packages using REPL Maker. Ooh, there's a small APL implementation. Oh my God, it now uses REPL Maker? Oof. Awesome. Okay, I just got nerd sniped a little bit, but yeah, REPL Maker is amazing. Cross-language comparison of REPL features. I might do that later, but I'm just building a huge. I'm trying to be more quantitative about and qualitative about specifically what things the Julia REPL offers that other languages don't offer, but it's just a big time investment. So Julia has a package manager, a shell mode. There's Julian mode. You can also do benchmarking. You can also you can't delete functions. You can't delete variables. Those are all things that define like how the Julia REPL can behave. But Julia is not the first language to come up with REPLs. So what exists out there? And so I found some really cool things like in Lisp, you can recompile your entire language with a single like Emacs command, and that's pretty cool. Like you can just hack on the language itself and then have it all recompile. Then you can have, it's called break loop debugging. So you can have you can type in an entire function, right? Like let's say that I don't need to do anymore. Let's say that I did function break loop, right? And so I defined if, let's say g of x. So if g of x is interesting, then return 3, and then h of x, right? So there's a Lispy way in which you can define this function and then call break loop for, and then this error gets not this the REPL right now just says, all right, this wasn't defined, but in Lisp this will now prompt you for, hey, define G now. So it's a very Lispy way of building up programs with just like naming things and then worrying about it later, and it's really powerful. We don't have that sort of programming style in Julia yet, but this is a project that I'm willing to suggest to people, please. So I'm going to add that to the list of projects at the end of this repo. Projects. Implement break loop coding style. Whenever a function is not defined, prompt the user to define it and then keep on evaluating. So this is function break loop. If g of, let's do that, if g of x, return 3 and h of x. So break loop 1, when break loop 1 runs, prompt the user to define g of x and then resume running break loop of 1. Yeah. Okay. Terminals and font support. I was going to talk about that, but it's very tough. Startup file options. Yeah, let's talk about that. So there's this file that I have, config. Nope, that's in Julia. Actually, before I get into that, let me talk about. Let's look at some questions. All right, no questions. All right, last hour. Let me show you some startup file options. So these are the things that I've always defined. I always want on my REPL, I always want benchmark tools, and I always want the fix, and I always want revise. There's these other functions that you don't know what they do yet, and I'm going to talk about them in a bit. So first, I'm going to talk about surprise. Oh my god, that's a horrible typo. So this can say JuliaCon 2022. And now I've changed my prompt. So this one's just saying, right? So I don't know if people knew that they could do that, but I found it really amusing. So let's try it again. Surprise. Horrible. So hanky. Okay, but I need the character thingy. There we go. Can I convert an object of type? Oh my god. Stop whining, Julia. So there we go. This is, oh wait, I want to do, there we go. Now we know it's legit. Super useful REPL mode, right? Don't ever do this. Do it for like 5 seconds just to show your friends that you can do it. But then this breaks your other people's ability to copy paste your code. So surprise, I think yeah, there we go. People can, so if I do, I think I've shown it, but if not, no worries. Where is it? All right, yeah. So people can do this. You can copy and then paste it, and then the Julia greater than gets cut out So that's very useful when you're just copy paste code from Stack Overflow or from Slack or from people trying to help you. Don't change your prompt. I know it can be done, but it's a bad thing. I just show it off because I think it's funny right now. But yeah. Yes, Peter Cheng, Julia Up works very well for me on Linux. I would definitely try it on Linux, especially on Linux, actually. Yeah, that's a little Easter egg that I wanted to show people. Not everyone knows that you can do that. Also, you can do a few flags that people might not know about that I find useful. There's the Julia quiet flag. Oh my god. Let's install the fix. And while I look at some questions. Oh, sorry. So let's try that again. Julia minus quiet. We'll just start Julia without the banner. So you don't get the super funky greeting. Then there's Julia minus project. And that will start your Julia with in the actual environment that you want to work at. You can actually feed the minus project flag a path. There's a lot more. There's one that I don't think that a lot of people have run into, so I'm gonna talk about it now, which is this one. So because Julia is built on LLVM, there's a flag that you can pass to Julia called LLVM Julia args, and it's called minus time passes. So this will pick up on, wait, let me, let's do Unicode plots. So this will try and time this will measure all the time that Julia spent optimizing code in the LLVM passes. So, all right. I think this is because I changed my default. Yeah. So that one. Julia. That's the one. Can you start a Julia server locally and bind several clients to the same backend? Yes, you can. Sharing or attaching to a Julia session among several processes. Yes, that's distributed computing. Not going to talk about it here, except for the fact that it exists, and other people will be talking about it at the conference. I wanted to show off this flag, Julia LLVM underscore args, and then using Unicode plots, revise. Let's see what people are asking. I can see that one can edit one's codes inside the REPL using Revise. Thank you. My question is, what is a swift way to save all the code one has entered into the REPL? I made a package that has a functionality for that, and I'm going to talk about it in a sec. There's a bare bones way, and there's a not so bare bones way. And I'm just going to talk about this. Scatter plot, one here, one there. Please work. Scatter plot. Okay, finally. Hopefully. Jeebus. So this will run that entire part. Hello? All right, so I need to look more carefully into what that did, because apparently it doesn't print it out like I thought it would. All right, well, I'm gonna have to look that up. All right, I showed you how to change your prompt. Also, you can name your environments. So, or I think by orgs. Let's try to change the banner. So, Julia, banner. I will now banner, try and find it. Where is it? Give me my banner. All right. So this is the part where I just go depths, Julia, cd depths. Oh wait. cd Julia, and then I'm like, all right, just show me where the banner is defined. So there's this very useful Julia, 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 JOSS, cd Julia. Right. Banner. There we go. Oh my god. FD function banner IO. There we go. Base version. So if I do vim base version.jl banner, right. So this is the entire Julia banner. And if you don't like that banner, what you can do is you can just overwrite that. So we're going to do that now. And we're going to do it via, we did it with edit. Let's see, where did I find stuff here? Edit, parse there. Oof, that's horrible again. But it's in, okay, I remember where it is now. So vim, Julia up, bin, Julia up, bin, Julia launcher. Never mind. So if I do just the bare bones Julia, less which parse int 1 to 3. Yeah, it's there, but it doesn't show me. And there you go. Edit, parse. This is in, wow. I didn't know how to read that. That was way too tiny a font. Probably this one looks very promising. Remote REPL. Yeah, people are asking questions. All right. I was going to try to change my banner, but I don't know why I'm not able to. Julia? Julia up. There we go. I'm on the share Julia base version. .jl. Okay, I don't need that, but vim. There we go. For the moment of truth. Let's make sure to comment this entire thing. And then, sorry, people aren't able to see that. There we go. Should be good now. Else print IO. And now the doggy. So that should have worked. And so if I pull up Julia, I'm definitely using that version. Yes, I am. Please. Okay. I don't know why I didn't. Might have to recompile. But oh well. Yeah, the point is that can be done. I'll get it next time. All right, more showing off cool repos that people have built. There's a nice Easter egg that people might not know about, and that's you can start Julia with minus femto lisp. Julia minus femto. Julia minus femto. Julia minus lisp. There you go, femto lisp. So if you happen to know the Julia lore, Jeff had written a Lisp somewhere during his time when he was studying, and it's just it was a really quick way for them to have a parser for Julia at the very beginning. I don't remember how to do this. Def name and then X and then 3. I don't remember how to do Lisp here, but the point is exit. There we go. Yeah, you can tap into the parser that way. And there's actually, let me see if I can recall, there's a way that you can JL init, I think. There's a certain symbol you can call to start the Julia process, but I don't remember right now. How do I even see? There's no REPL here, so I feel like a duck out of water. Oh, well, that was weird. All right. Banner. Tools and packages. So now I'm just going to try and breeze through as many cool packages as I can. Changing the banner. Alan Turing would be proud of the development in the field. Lol. Yeah. People saying kick W. Maybe that's why I changed the prompt. I think the REPL breaks because there's a variable jail prompt length that happens somewhere inside the REPL startup. Yeah, I'm going to make a nice little silly blog post of things you definitely shouldn't do with a REPL or something. But it's just silly. It's just for showing off. Tools and packages. All right. No more questions so far. Let's look at some really cool stuff that Julia has out of the box. You can ask Julia to tell you when you're definitely screwing up. So if you're doing it, it will run the code in front of you or in front of the macro, and it'll say with some pretty color output, hey, don't do that. Or when you definitely shouldn't have. So if you happen to pollute type inference, like if you happen to have screwed it up or not have helped Julia out as much as you could have, it will print it out in red. And there's a bunch of these. The point is that there's a bunch of these macros of like, hey, how does x equals 2? Code lower. Oh, that's why. There's a lot of transformation passes that have to happen from you running Julia code to Julia actually running the code. And so knowing all of these different code friends is very useful for being able to inspect what's going on underneath the hood at many different levels. Right? So definitely autocomplete them, play around with them, figure out what's fun. Just for all the haters out there who say that Julia can never be fast, that's, you can have the code typed and then you can have the code native. So you can have, there's your assembly if you're really into that. Benchmark tools. Benchmark tools is probably the number one leading cause of performance junkies in Julia. That's not benchmark tools. That is benchmark tools. So what benchmark will do is it will, let's say that I want to square this really big number, or let's say big. That's not a number. And squares should definitely be defined. There we go. Control P, Control P. And so what this will do is it will evaluate the thing in front of the at benchmark a bunch of times and get some samples on how quickly it happened. It will print a nice graphic in your terminal and it'll say, you allocated 48 bytes. You did 3 allocations. If you're getting into performance, that's very important to know about. And on average, you were, or this is the range. Your best time was 66 nanoseconds. The worst time was 171 microseconds. So from when you didn't hit the garbage collector to when you did, sorry. If you don't want that verbose of a printout, you can just do at b time, and then that will be enough to show you, it's about 73 nanoseconds. So this is a really easy way for you to just be profiling your code. Not profiling, sorry, but measuring your code. There's other profilers as well, but they don't have good REPL integration yet. So that's something that we should definitely, that's weird. So let's go back to Julia dev and then REPL. There we go. So I'm writing down a bunch of projects if people want to pick them up. Issues to pick up projects. Native REPL profile output. Profiler output. We already have benchmark. Why not also print a flame graph in the REPL, right? So if you've used the VS Code IDE, you can just do like add prof viewer, and then that will inline to your VS Code experience show you where statistically your code is spending most of its time. Another really cool thing that people might not know about, it's possible to save the REPL commands to a file. Wow, like 5 different people have asked that. Yeah, I'm gonna show it in just a second. And it's already saved to a file, basically. What's useful is caching that into a, actually, we might be able to build it in the last couple of minutes. All right. There's this repo called The Fix by Michael Slavinsky. Great name. So if you ever type sign of, let's say, 0.5, you're like, oh, sign isn't defined. And so I just get really angry that I've typed, oh, F. And then it says, oh, did you mean sign? And I'm like, oh, yes, I did. And so it says, all right, let me fix that with sign of 0.5. So what's happened is that I have this, please go away. Thank you. the fix lets you, it will try and do like a smart search algorithm for strings to the nearest like completable function or constant that you could typed in that you probably mistyped. And so you define your shortcut. It can be a bit more obscene than my double F. And so it's based on an actual package that I can't probably pronounce on this channel. But you just type in double F whenever you screw it up. So instead, if I said suquare 3, and I'm like, hey, that doesn't exist. Oh, yes, I meant that. There we go. Instead of typing the whole thing, right? So that's really useful, or at least for showing off. Sometimes I don't even remember, and I just like retype it anyways. The Texify. The Texify is incredibly useful. The Texify lets you. The Texify lets you output latex code from within Julia, right? And what's really useful is when you pair it up with clipboard. In fact, I'm almost sure that the Latexify function has a quargs to throw it into your clipboard as well. But the point is, it can be done. And so if you ever need to type up a table, you just do something like Latexify 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's a really easy way to write a matrix in LaTeX, right? Just type it in Julia and have Latexify figure it out. And now that symbolics.jl is getting more and more popular, it's going to be a pretty useful thing to do. Package templates is how I built this entire repo very quickly. You just type in t equals template and then your username, and then t my super package, and then this entire repo structure, right? Like all of this with the CI workflows, with the git ignore, with the license, the readme in the right place, the test files, the source, the workflows, all of that gets defaulted as part of package templates. So the easiest way for you to set up being a pro Julia developer, just use package templates. It's definitely a really useful package to know about. All right. Miscellaneous, no. Unicode plots, or rather, yeah, eyeball. Eyeball is really cool. Why? Oh, it's because I changed Julia versions. So eyeball, what it has is a way to let you explore the different fields of a really nested struct, right? So you can say like, all right, what's this args thing? Oh, I don't know. It's not that interesting. So maybe I can just hide that, right? Fields, that, there's a, there we go. Yeah, so you can expand or minimize these symbols. Yeah, with left to right. That's the easiest way to do it. You're like, that's too much info. So you can just keep collapsing with left and right. So instead of being tab completing all the way, you can just say like, hey, what's this like super gnarly, like let's say, I don't know, this IO context that I had used. Instead of trying to figure it out, you can just do I of IO, and then it will say like, oh, those are the things that are defined there. These are all Booleans. You can just append. That's the max size, the pointer, and all that stuff. And you can expand that if you're really interested. Showing items 1 through 10. Hit E to expand. There we go. Awesome. Excellent package. Cannot recommend enough. Very friendly to people who are part of the Julia REPL Stan account gang. Hi, let me read some of these questions. Changing the banner, is it possible? Hi Miguel, how can I install screen keys? I think it's sudo apt install screen key on Ubuntu. So that's what worked for me. If your Linux should be in your package manager, Mac doesn't have screen keys. I'm using Windows. Oh, sorry, don't know for Windows. Yeah, there's something equivalent as screen keys, but I won't know right now. Terminal pager, also really useful. Don't do me like this. Oh my god. It's because I know why. Because I'm not in the environment. There we go. So this is a really big matrix. Let's do it like maybe 30 by 30, right? So this is a really big matrix. Let's do 20. Yeah. So you can scroll with L or J and up and down. Okay, that's not working. But the point is that you can, if you ever get a data frame that's a bit too big for what you're using, you can just use that. And it's very useful for visualizing data frames and navigating through the columns, just like, wait, what did that thing say? And just like visually inspecting some of the values. If you're wondering how a lot of these packages handle their printing shenanigans, it's many of them call into this package called abstract trees. And so that will very easily let you also use that interface so that you can have really pretty printing. There's these other packages, Debugger, Cthulhu, and Snoop Compile, which have to do with stepping really deep into the internals of Julia. Debugger is like the most accessible one. But the others work in a very similar way, in which you can do enter, parse int, and then you can do like that. And so this is a debugger within your terminal. It's going to take a little bit of time and so it will show you what you're about to run. If you don't know what you want to do, and it's like, oh, what's this really funky thing? You can type in question mark, and it will print out all of the commands that you can type in. The really important ones are the ones for adding a breakpoint, which will stop the evaluation at different points. And then the next key, and the one where you can hit the comma, or not comma, the tilde. So you can type in now super duper, right? And this is 100. And so even as you're evaluating the function, you can evaluate new Julia code as you're stepping in through that function. So you can go back to the debug mode and step into the next call, step over with next, step over that, step over, and now it returns 123, which was like what we wanted to. So that's one of your options for debugging. Cthulhu and Snoop Compile just, I think Snoop Compile does have a REPL mode. I'm pretty sure. Unicode plots, I think I've shown. Progress meter is really cool. It will let you very easily have progress meters attached to for loops. So it's a really easy way of just having a for loop on your code. Just attach a progress meter onto it. I don't want to talk a lot about term, but there's going to be a really cool presentation on term at JuliaCon. I made sure they were presenting. They're going to demo some really cool stuff. So if you want to build out, this is one of the more fleshed out terminal UI builders that are going to be in Julia. I don't want to steal their thunder, but I'm really excited about it. Definitely check them out. They'll be giving a talk. They've optimized their code a bit. And so, yeah, do that. Pretty tables, if you don't want something as featureful as term, you can just use pretty tables for some compact representation of your types. You can customize it quite a bit, but it's very friendly. It's very easy to get set up with. Finally, this is one of the projects that I most want to see in Julia. It's a Pluto REPL interface. So you could probably use term to build this, but the point is, I don't like spinning up a web browser for using Pluto, but I do appreciate the fact that you get like this model for showing computation. So term already has a markdown renderer. Why not just like have the ability to edit cells and move them around within the Pluto? You can call the Pluto engine because that's now a separate part, but somebody please build a Pluto REPL UI for the terminal. Pluto REPL, yeah. That would be awesome. That would be really awesome. I think it would be probably a really good way to get set up. Miscellanea. I didn't show this before, but there's a part of the Julia REPL itself that's now terminal menus. So if you're wondering how do you even get started with this, this used to be an outside library, and now it's part of Julia. It's called terminal menus. And it's got, oh, the page is now there. So you can build a Veda menu, right? So let's see what it does. Using terminal menus. What? Nope. Using REPL terminal menus, right? Terminal menus. So radio menu. Oh wow, that's a lot of things. So you can have a radio menu of, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Not that one. Okay. Yeah. Radio menu. All right. But the point is, this is a really easy way to just display a vector of your options. There we go. Yeah. Radio menu, and then A, B, C, D. There we go. And what? Requests. There we go. Request radio menu A, B, C, D. Oh, it's because and so and ta-da, and it will return that. Well, it will return the index, right? So this is just a really bare bones way that you can just ask for user input and have that thing be spit back out. Right. Videos in terminal. I try to set this up to play a video. I think this will work. Video in terminal. Yeah, I couldn't get it to work, but there's something with my computer. But there's definitely people who have built facilities for both capturing video from within your Julia REPL to displaying video, right? So this one is so for example, I did using kitty images. There we go, kitty terminal images. Please. Using test images. Please. So test image and then cameraman. And this should, oh Lord, all this per compilation. Okay, that's taken a bit. Unexpected. By the way, another package in the vein of I'd recommend is interactive code search. Yes, interactive code search is cool. I remember you asked about TO development, Julia. Term seems to be it. Yes, I would definitely vouch for Term to be the most full-fledged. Output swatch is reduced to large size. Let the image show. So interactive errors isn't for everyone, but all right, testing image cameraman. All right, didn't want to work. It worked before, but didn't work right now. So there's also this demo of port audio, which is I'm basically certain that Pluto or the Intro to Computational Thinking course has these notebooks where people take a picture of their face and record their voice and then do like fast Fourier transforms on it and the discrete Fourier transforms on the images. And so I think it'd be pretty cool to just have a 10 lines of Julia code that will record your voice and then like plot it and show the fast Fourier transform of it. That'd be really nice to show in the within like 10 lines of Julia. So finally, in Dr. docstrings. So okay, Dr. docstrings. I made this package a long time ago. Docstrings, Dr. Julia. All right, I forgot. YouTube, okay, no. Almost a year ago. Yeah, cool. To the language. Somebody, if anybody cool, thanks, man. Yeah, I don't know why. There we go. Add that one. And so I don't know why it's picking up gumbo. Split, apply, combine, type tables. What the? All right, using docstrings. Right. So in docstrings, there's a function called history parser. I think so. Pick and copy. Right. So this will show you a radio menu of your previous Julia histories. So I could be like, all right, what I really wanted was this one, and let's say at the end, using Dr. docstrings, right? And then I do done. And so this will say this was all copied to your clipboard. And so now if I paste that, I have all that input in my Julia REPL. So yeah, it's to answer your questions. Let's add it. It's Dr. docstrings pick and copy. That's the method that people have been asking for. whew, I wrote that because I needed that and I got tired of copy pasting stuff. There's a bunch of other stuff in Dr. Docstrings. I think Peter Krissel has also made like a pick and copy REPL code that I basically hijacked. I think it's based on that. Interactive errors and abbreviated stack traces are probably the last packages that I get to see, get to talk about. So interactive errors. There we go. Yeah, I have it pulled up. So what's cool about this is that you can get an error in the style of break loop debugging, and then you get different options for what you want to do, right? So you can have your desired text editor pulled up for that. You can roll back. You can do a bunch of things. So let's try and do, yeah. You can edit, you can retry. And it's not for everyone to turn it on, but when you're used to that workflow, that is really, really cool. Right? So you can run Jet on it now. Oh, that's amazing. That's super cool. You can copy it to your clipboard, all that stuff. So definitely, we should very much interactive Vim readme interactive. I think they've already implemented the break loop debugging that I wanted. Yeah. Yeah, so it hijacks your errors. And so it's not, I think there's not a way to like turn it on per function where it's like erroring there. But it'd be nice to. And I think lastly we'll look at abbreviated stack traces. I think also by Michael Heatherly. Nope, by Turbonik. So instead of getting this as a horrible error message, you can get this where it's abbreviated. And so that's another option. You can set an environment flag for it. And this is one of let's try that one. Using brief traces. We're almost done. So if you do some, you get this error. Oh, so now it's abbreviated. You can do error. Yeah, so it binds it. So you get this horrible, nasty stuff. Or if you do that. By the way, there's an oh my REPL binding for enable autocomplete brackets. And you can set it to false. And so then you won't have stuff like ASDF, ASTR. There we go. Yeah, I'll do that because I find that super annoying. Oh my REPL enable autocomplete brackets false. Yeah, I think that's basically everything that we have time for today. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, but that's it. except for Binary Builder. Binary Builder is a it takes too long to run the installation, but maybe people get the point that this is really cool and that you can help others with this. It's a wizard in the REPL where you can guide people through helping set up third-party code dependencies. And that's very, very useful. And I've used it to build that stuff for others. So it will guide you through how do you clone the repo, what the commit hash is, what do you want to name it. So it's just a series of interactive REPL statements where you can make your users become developers for other people. And I find that's really cool. Okay, so it says that it couldn't open that stuff, but you get this really cool REPL wizard saying ELF for the appropriate byte marks, right? And I'm going to close it there. And I think that's it on my part. So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we are going to go to, oh my God, that's way too much. Oh, okay. Way too personal. Way too quick. Let's run some brands. StreamYard overlay. JuliaCon 2020. Yeah. All right, show that. Nope, hide that. All right. Yeah. Well, that's it for me. Thank you, everyone. Fabulous workshop, much to review and learn from. I'll be rewatching the video. So what I will be doing is trying to cut down the quick parts of each section of the workshop so that people can just watch 5 minutes at a time, because nobody ever watches an entire workshop back again. Like there's like maybe 20 people over a year that do it, but having bite-sized like REPL nuggets is very useful to go back to, like, oh, what was that shortcut thing? How did you do that? Like, what does it look like? And I'll keep updating the workshop. I don't think it's just a one and done thing, because people are going to keep building really cool stuff. There's going to be a lot more documentation than just like a really long README. This was just the easiest way to show it to people and share it with people, and also doing the live coding for me. That was a fun workshop. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Miguel. Had a fun, learned a lot. Ricardo Rios. I have to watch workshop videos from last JuliaCon still on my to-do list. Yeah, everyone has like a really long to-do list with JuliaCon videos, but that's part of the game, I guess. That's a good problem to have, I guess. Thanks for the awesome workshop, says Filippo. De nada. Cheers, people. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you're getting better at your REPL. We ended up with 63 people here. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Let's end the broadcast. Let's do it. Or unless anyone has any questions. Wait, I haven't checked the Discord. So in Revise to change error output, helpful errors, interactive errors, abbreviated stackers to default. Is there an easy way to switch through all these during a REPL session? I think that's the part of the global flags that they were setting in the environment. Thank you, Ricardo Rios. Ali Mérez. Ali Mérez. Bienvenido. Muchas gracias por venir. Thanks a lot. Gracias a todos en español. Thanks to everyone in Spanish, Latin America. Don't forget, I'm going to have a Julia Birds of a Feather in Spanish, and I'm going to give a JuliaCon What's talk. So if you think this was all the cool parts of the REPL, you might run into some monsters and some really unexpected parts, and that's going to be the JuliaCon What talk. So stay posted for that one. Cheers.